Dieppe Market.
Bonjour.
Deux baguettes, s'il vous plaît.
Voilà, baguette française.
Merci. Oh, wow. Lovely. The smell of fresh baguette, cheese, garlic. Where else could I be but East Sussex? Yes, believe it or not, once a year during festival time, the Dieppe Market crosses the channel and just like Songs of Praise, finds a warm welcome here in Brighton. Tonight, a flying visit to England's biggest and wildest arts festival. We discover Brighton's history as a fishing village and join in a beach barbecue. We meet a woman who paints a very personal picture of heaven. And we get to see the sights with a tour of the famous pavilion and Brighton's colourful twisting lanes. Hello there and a warm welcome from Brighton. We're here to take part in an event that local people have been sharing for the last 200 years or so. It's the famous Blessing of the Net service, which celebrates the catch of the very first mackerel of the year. We're here with the Salvation Army Band from Worthing and hundreds of locals and holiday makers. Brighton has always been the place for the great British seaside holiday. I started coming here when I was a student just to get away from it all, and I keep coming back because there really is something here for everyone. And it now hosts the biggest cultural festival in England, a festival that attracts nearly 250,000 people. But it used to be rather genteel. Fishing here has never been just for the tourists. At one time, Brighton was the largest fishing port on the south coast. And like so many seagoing communities, its links with faith have always been strong.
Back in the 50s, 1950s, through to the early 60s, on a Sunday we had the Salvation Army on the fish market. Outside of the fish market was a big area laid out for what we call the fisherman's hard, or fish market hard, and it became like a speaker's corner. Anybody could put their soapbox up and rant and rave, but I should think there were 6 separate little groups, all preaching, all giving it a little bit of religion, and the fishermen dragging their nets past them or pushing the boat up and down, and the crowds of people on the top, passers-by, watching all this go on. It was quite good.
And every year, the first mackerel catch of the season is still celebrated with the traditional blessing of the nets. Today, it's all part of the festival and maybe just a bit more informal. So Andy, how's it been so far?
Oh, it's been hectic, but it's been really nice. It's been a really enjoyable experience.
And what is it that you like particularly about the blessing of the net service?
Well, I think it brings the history and the presents together. It's a really nice day. You know, it's a traditional sort of thing. It brings the community together. The boats come in. It's a modern fishing fleet here in Brighton. There's about 400 people get a living out of it, and sometimes you can feel them getting lost with inside, you know, 250,000 people. And after all, Brighton was based on fishing, and it's just nice to show that it's still here and alive and economically very important to the town.
It was wonderful, as it always is. Thousands of people come for this special occasion to celebrate the blessing of the mackerel and the nets. When we first started, there was about 100 people, and the candles would always go out. We usually had a stray dog, but look at today, 2,000 people all joining in.
Why do you think that this event is so popular with everybody?
Well, I think it's popular because it's out here on the seafront. It's a genuine community event. You know, you get all of Brighton come along this seafront, and it's one of those days of the year when there's something for the kids to do, there's something for everybody to do. The fishermen all get together and have a drink, and that's great. So it's a nice day out.
So Michael, what would you say is the essence of the blessing of the net service?
I think it is offering to God your work as a fisherman, and realising that you've got to rely on God for the harvest of the sea at the end of the day, that it is a deeply spiritual experience for people.
When you come to Brighton, one of the images that immediately leap into your head is this extraordinary building, the Royal Pavilion, converted in the 18th century by George IV when he was the Prince Regent. Apparently, his doctor told him to come to Brighton for his health, and so he did. But Brighton has always had the knack of welcoming the exotic. This year's festival has attracted musicians from all corners of the globe. One of the most original combinations is the choral group Simonye, made up of singers from two radically different traditions, the Sedasa Chorale from South Africa and Ifa Julini from Oxford. They came together on the Oxford group's 1995 South African tour.
Then I'm teaching the Fajolenda song. They crepe it wonderful. Really, they reminds me home. They remind my home in Natal. Let us try to live in harmony, which is from God, the Almighty living. This is the music that brought us together with Ifacholi.
As well as astonishing music, the Arts Festival celebrates dance, theatre, street performance and of course visual arts of all kinds. Brighton has its own huge artistic community, so it's no surprise to find the locals very much involved. One unique Arts Festival project is called Open Houses, and it means just that. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Come in.
Well, come on, tell me more about Open Houses. What is this all about?
Well, this is really that people can come in and look at art, craft, and not have this threshold of having to go to a museum or a gallery. So they can just come to houses, meet the artists and ask questions.
And what sort of people do you have coming in here? Is it the sort of normal crowd that you'll see at a gallery?
Oh, no. No, you get prams. I sometimes end up with a baby in my arms, you know. When you get a mother, obviously she's done 3 or 4 houses and you think, Would you just like to go around on your own? I don't mind holding a baby. My children are grown up.
What sort of comments have you had about this picture?
This is supposed to be the world. Art shouldn't be disconnected from life. It should be with people in their houses, in their lives. So everybody should be able to take part in it. So here, I mean, there are a lot of people who have art forms that perhaps aren't art, like the art of friendship or the art of storytelling. You have people dressing up as the seasons, because the art of life is very important, and they're all having a party together. I get quite strong reactions to this picture. I had one woman who said, I don't really believe in heaven, but this is heaven to me, and I would like to be there, which was very nice, because in a way, as a painter, you try and concentrate on the heaven side instead of the hell side. I mean, we have hell all around us. I mean, I've actually got a picture where I had to paint hell, and while making the composition, I realized that I felt quite responsible. When you fall out of heaven, you lose hope, faith, love, you know, so you replace it with greed, position, anger, fear, and all those things. Now, if you have to paint that, you actually have to feel them, which is not very nice. It's also in hell, you're isolated. So all the beauty has gone, and so the closeness to the Creator, to everything that is creative. Whereas in heaven, you know, the whole picture comes together and you are there with the ultimate artist.
In Brighton, if you don't come to the festival comes to you.
This event you're at now is the Streets of Brighton, which is part of the National Street Arts Festival, a UK-wide festival of street theatre.
Brighton's most famous streets are, of course, the windy, cobbled and picturesque lanes. I was shown around by town guide Maura McQueenie. Well, I've been coming to the lanes for years, but I don't actually know anything about the history of this place.
Today there are about 500 people who live here, but this was the old town of Brighton, and these were the fishermen's cottages for centuries. And when fashionable people came to the spa town after 1750, the fishermen started renting out their cottages, making them shops.
And even some church buildings have had a change of use.
This church was already here since 1688. It's not alone in being a redundant church in the lanes. Holy Trinity Church, where Robertson of Brighton used to preach back in the last century. Dickens said he was the most charismatic preacher in England, and he made the Trinity Chapel very famous. And today it's an art gallery called Fabrica. Beautiful installation there for the Brighton Festival.
Composer Jonathan Harvey lives in nearby Lewes, and his powerful opera about Jesus, The Passion and Resurrection, is being staged as one of the highlights of the festival.
Brighton is a very diverse place. It used to be considered the place where more composers lived than anywhere except London. And it is out of this kind of atmosphere that I'm trying to work for the production of this new opera. It's not a new opera, but it's a new production with a lot of local people involved. Music has always been a way of expressing or trying to explore spiritual dimensions. I mean, it seems to me absolutely fundamental that music should express the deepest part of us.
Well, she's already realising what...
I sing the part of Mary Magdalene, who's one of 3 Marys in this piece of music, and they go together to the tomb, and they find that Jesus' body has gone, and they sing about their sorrow and surprise at what's happened. And Mary Magdalene sings a lament, which is a particularly emotional piece of music. She pours out her grief at the loss of her Saviour. I think that God gives gifts and asks you to look after them and nurture your own gifts, and also to share them with other people. And the thing about music is that it's portable, the voice goes with you. As long as you look after it, you can use it in so many different ways, and I feel that God's giving me this opportunity to spread his word through some of the concerts that I do.
And I think the other Marys who come in at that point sort of they strengthen that point, don't they? They're also saying, "Risen the Master from his sepulchre."
I guess that there are times when I worry that I'm not going to be able to do perhaps the difficult music that's put in front of me, or supposing maybe I get a cold or a sore throat. I do sometimes worry about that. But little prayers go up and things always happen, and I'm really reassured and comforted every time by the fact that God is there for me as a singer in my work, and it's just such a rich experience. It's hard to explain, but the voice is from the heart, and that is how God speaks for me.
We come now to the blessing of the nets and the mackerel. Blessed are you, O God, whose spirit hovered over the deep, filled it with all manner of living things. May the sea continue to teem with abundant life. May those who move upon the face of the waters rejoice in its beauty and find safety in its perils. May Christ, who calmed the storm and filled the nets of his disciples, bring us all to the harbour of light and peace. Amen.
Well, it's goodbye from all of us here in Brighton. We have had a fabulous time and we hope you've enjoyed it as well. Next week, Pam Rose will be on the water, but she joins up with some narrowboat enthusiasts on the canals at the Braunston Boat Show in Northamptonshire. So she'll see you then and we'll see you soon. Bye.